that's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're very excited about the corridors, obviously, and I think that'll be a persistent theme forever. Creating, contiguous properties so animals and flora and fauna can, cross these artificial barriers. That's very, very important. It's all about habitat, isn't it? And then I think too, our knowledge and understanding of the flora and fauna, animals, birds, everything, it's still so limited. There's so much more to learn and to understand how they interact. Take trees as an example. The symbiotic relationships that we are learning about, fungi and the mycelium and how they feed birch trees that, look after pine trees when there's a drought and vice versa. And to all these interrelationships that we're just beginning to understand. It's very exciting. And I think that's where these properties that we've been able to retain and preserve are going to be invaluable, just invaluable. That's what I think.
Yeah. Well, certainly part of this whole ball game is getting approvals, and we've established such a good reputation, an honest reputation. We're not like some politicians who say one thing and do something else. If we say it, we mean it, and we're going to do it.
Right.
And we're not entering into some hocus pocus deal that is going to bamboozle somebody. That's just not the way we operate, and we've become a premier organization as a result of all the people that have gone to work in this. And in the next 30 years, we will more than double our properties, but sure. It'll be because we've established such a credible organization and credible people running it and working for it and interested in it. And I think that the government has to sit up and take notice, and we've seen that with the amount of money that has come in on our fundraising, that we've established not an open door but an open mind, at least, and that helps. That's going to make a big difference.
We're at a time when we've got a good base now, as you say, with what was it, 15,000 acres?
Almost, yeah.
Yeah, which is pretty impressive by itself. But that nucleus now is a bit of a juggernaut, because there's a lot of aging baby boomers who potentially would donate their land, given an organization like ours. Yep. And they feel comfortable doing it. So I think you're still going to see a huge amount of growth in the next 30 years.
Well, two things, for me anyway, where we're going with climate change and how that's going to even affect not only the climate, but the actions around it, what the Conservancy will have to do or will want to do, and who's going to figure it out, because that's what it was all about in the first place, because there's a problem that had to be acted on if you're really interested in changing things. And strangely enough, all of a sudden we're finding that we need to know a lot about AI and where that plays out in the way we can or will do things. And I don't mean necessarily just for the Conservancy, but whether we like it or not, both of those things are going to impinge on what we do and how we're going to react and what we're going to be concerned about or argue about or want to do something about. So whoever the lucky people are on the board that have to deal with these, I'll be interested to see where it goes.
I think the other thing is that in the next 30 years, those of us who were involved and have ownership from the very beginning, and I think it's already happening, have the ability to stand back and let go, so that the people who are coming in to the organization have the freedom to move the organization ahead, because we obviously are not going to be around long enough for the next 30 years, some of us. And I think it's important. I think Ron, initially, when he stepped down as the CEO, but kept being involved, was able to do it in a way that didn't prevent
Right.
the organization from continuing to move ahead, but was there to feed in information and help where it was needed. And then of course he had the whole focus on Carton, and that was his big thing. That and the oral moraine were the two things that really were the key issues when we first started. Oral moraine's not happening yet the way we had hoped it would, but the Carton certainly beyond our wildest dreams, really.
Yeah. Dorothea and I were looking at a map the other day and looking at the, outlines of all the properties, and it's almost continuous from the very bottom end at Turnbull Ranch all the way up
Yeah.
to Chris Starr, Wolf Run Alvar. There's just like 2 properties that are sort of missing. So if you
Yeah.
think about a deer or a wolf or a moose or whatever, being able to just walk that with no barriers, pretty cool.
Yeah, so we drive through the Star property every time we go over to the cottage, and it took us a while to realize that all of that property there was QE2.
Yeah.
I mean, QE2 just keeps showing up all over the place. I mean, that whole district. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it could be exciting. And we'll certainly be keeping in touch with it.
Yeah.
I think one of the nice things is the number of young people that are getting involved, and also that we've got a good ethnic mix of people in that group of people coming on board. A lot of what we used to do was very white and I wouldn't say exclusive. It certainly wasn't deliberate, but the effort to make sure that everybody had some ownership in everything that was going on wasn't happening that well at the time. We were so involved in doing the things we wanted to do.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice to see that happening.
And hopefully the world is looking on a lot more and more interested in what's going to happen with nature and our world.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Well, that's all the questions. I think that's all.
Have fun editing that one.